कितने लोग आए? हेलो।
यस सर, 12 लोग हैं अभी।
12।
यस सर।
अच्छा, तो शुरू करते हैं।
यस सर, कर दीजिए।
बेल आइकन दबाया कि नहीं दबाया, वो सबसे ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है गाइस। नहीं आता सो गाइस चलिए मैं आपको सिखाता हूँ कैसे करते हैं, बहुत ही आसान है। सो गाइस ये है नीचे रेड कलर का सब्सक्राइब का बटन, इसको आपने कुछ नहीं करना, आपने सिर्फ ऐसे करके अपने हैंड से ऐसे प्रेस कर देना है। रेड कलर का है वो ग्रे हो जाएगा, एंड देन उसके बाद सामने ही आपका बेल आइकन है, आपने उस बेल आइकन को ऐसे करके प्रेस कर देना है, और फिर आपको जो भी मेरी अगली वीडियोस हैं उसकी नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगी सबसे पहले।
In the last class, we finished the third part of the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Today we have to start part 4th. And we have already discussed that the ancient mariner is relating his stories, the stories of his journey, what has happened during his journey when he was making in the sea. He is relating it to the wedding guest. The wedding guest is listening to the story of the ancient mariner, and he tells, I fear thee. The ancient mariner, he is addressing the ancient mariner, he is telling the ancient mariner that fear has come into my mind. I am listening, or I have been listening to your story for a long, long time, and this has brought a kind of horror into my mind, a kind of fear into my mind. I fear thy skinny hand. Your hand is so thin, skinny means thin, so thin that it doesn't look the hand of a common man, the hand of a common person. It seems that it is the hand of some ghosts, and thou art long, lank, and brown. I am also afraid of your skinny hand, your tall and thin figure, and your wrinkled dark skin also filled my mind with fear. I fear thee and thy glittering eye, and thy skinny hand so brown. Fear not, thou wedding guest, this body dropped not down. I fear thee and thy glittering eye. The ancient mariner, the wedding guest, tells that, O ancient mariner, I am afraid of you, not only you, but also of thy glittering eyes and thy skinny hand, so brown. I am also scared to see your skinny hand, which looks brown. Then the ancient mariner suggests the wedding guest that you should not be afraid of all these things. He addresses the wedding guest, or he is addressing the listener as the wedding guest. This body dropped not down. We have already discussed that, O wedding guest, all the mariners besides me have fallen down on the ship. But so far as my body is concerned, this body did not drop down. I was living there. I was leaving one there, and I was alone. And he cries, alone, alone, all alone. Very important stanza. Please underline these 4 lines. Very important from explanatory point of view. So he tells, alone, alone, all alone, alone on a wall and a wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. The poet tells that the number of the mariners was 200, and one by one, all of them started dropping down, falling down on the ship. And they were looking at me. I was alone, all alone. I was alone on a wide sea, The sea was wide. It was so wide that it brought out a kind of fear into my mind. And never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. My soul was agonized. My heart was filled with agony. Fearfulness was creeping into my mind. So the poet tells that I was in agony. My soul is in agony, but not even a saint showed pity upon me. They were not merciful to me. The many men, so beautiful, and they all did lie, and 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I. The poet S.T. Coleridge tells us that there were many persons looking very beautiful are on the ship, and they all did did lie, and all of them were lying dead. And 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I. He tells that 1,000 slimy things lived in the sea, and among them I was also. It was very painful for the ancient mariner that he had seen so many beautiful human beings lying all around him, lying on the ship. But in the sea, thousands and thousands of ugly creatures he had seen living in the sea. And like these ugly creatures, he too continued to live in the sea. Actually, there are different types of sea creatures living in the sea, and in their company, the poet also lives in the sea. I looked upon the rotting sea and drew my eyes away. I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead man lay. I looked upon the rotting sea. The sun was very hot, shining in the sky, and the sun rays were falling on the surface of the sea water, and the hot rays of the sun had made the sea water hot, and the sea water started boiling like the mustard oil boiling in the pan. The sea is just like a pan, and its water is just like mustard oil, and drew my eyes away. Very important line for explanation. I looked upon the rotting sea. The ancient martyr tells the wedding guest that I looked upon the rotting sea and drew my eyes away. I removed my eyes from the direction of the sea. I looked upon the rotting deck. I also started looking at the deck of the ship, and there all the dead men were lying. I started looking at the senseless person lying upon the ship, and they looked like a dead person. I looked to heaven and tried to pray. The poet tells that I started looking towards heaven. Heaven means here sky. I began to look upon the sky and tried to pray, but or ever prayer had gushed, a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust. Coleridge here points out that the ancient mariner looked towards the heaven and he tried to pray to God, but our ever's prayer had gushed gushed a wicked whisper came. A wicked whisper came. Suddenly, a whispering voice came to me and made my heart as dry as dust. My heart was made dry as the dust is. This is also very important from explanatory point of view. The poet is sitting on the ship, and that ship is littered full of so many dead persons. Looking at the poet, and his heart is filled with fear, and all the dead persons may look towards the ancient mariner. Suddenly, he heard the whispering sound which came to his heart. I looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or ever prayer had just a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust. Here the poet tells that the ancient mariner is looking towards the heaven. Towards heaven means a sky, trying to pray to God. He is offering prayer to Parampita Parameshwar. Before he could pray, some wicked whispering voice influenced his heart, had a great impact on his heart, and made it as dry as the dust is. Then what happened with the ancient mariner when he listens to the wicked whisper? What happened with him? He tells, after this, I closed my lids. He closed his eyes and kept them closed, and he went on closing his eyes, and the balls like pulses beat. Always remember that the all eyeballs beat against his eyes like pulse. When you hold the hand of someone, or when you put your hand upon your chest, heart beats is listened to you, heartbeat is felt by you. Similarly, it happens with the poet. He closed his eyelids and his eyeballs started beating, and he is feeling for the sky and the sea and the sky lay like a load on weary eye. and the dead were at my feet. Always remember, it seems that this sky as well as the sea looked like a heavy load on his eyes. His eyes were not in a position to see this desolate condition found in the sea. Still, he was afraid, he was fearful to open his eyes because of the dead man lying at his feet. We have already discussed that one by one, all the mariners started falling down upon the deck of the sea, and the dead bodies are, it seems that all the dead bodies are looking towards the ancient mariner, and he is alone, all alone. There is no one with him. He is alone there and suffering a lot. When his mind is fearful, when his heart is filled with suffering, he started remembering God. He started praying to Param Pita Parameshwar, "Oh God, please save me." And when he feels fearful, then he closed his eyes and he went on keeping closed them. And he feels that his eyeballs are beating, and a sky and the sea and the sea and the sky all are looking like one. And he finds that, he sees that all the dead bodies are lying at my feet. Just remember what type of peculiar scene is seen by the ancient mariner. He is on the sea and his ship is floating over the sea water, and all the mariners are lying dead, lying senseless, and he is alone living there. He is alone living one there. This situation is called living death. This is called life in death, living death. In spite of living, you are dead. So what is this? This is the agony which has to be undergone by the ancient mariner. And being afraid of this scene, he had closed his eyes and he kept on watching this horrible situation created by the death of all the mariners, the dead body of all the mariners lying upon the deck of the sea where the poet is alone, and he cries, "Alone, alone, all alone, alone on a wide sea. There is no creature to be seen by the ancient mariner. The creature which had been seen by him already has been killed by the ancient mariner with his crossbow. So there is no creature. Creatures are there, and they are the mariners, but they are senseless, they are dead, lying upon the deck of the sea." So he cries, feeling very much horrible, feeling fearful. He remembers alone, alone, all alone, what to do or what not to do, each problem before the ancient mariner, and he is undergoing the agony which is lying at his heart. And then he tells, the cold sweat melted from their limbs. The dead body started giving foul smell, दुर्गंध देने लगा. Nor rot, nor reek they did. The fact is this, that the dead bodies have not rotten. Still, foul smell is coming out of that very dead bodies. The look with which they looked upon me had never passed away. I have told you already that it seems that the dead body are looking towards the ancient mariner. The look with which they looked on me, it seemed that the dead bodies are looking at the ancient mariner. They looked dead, but really they were not dead. They were senseless and lying at the feet of the ancient mariner, and their death their senselessness had brought a kind of fearfulness into the mind of the ancient mariner. But the ancient mariner points out that they look like dead bodies, but really they were not dead. They had never passed away. An orphan, cursed, would drag to hell. An orphan's curse can take me from heaven to hell. A spirit on high, but oh, more horrible than that is the curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights, I saw that curse. The curse fell upon the ancient mariner because he had gone against the natural law. The natural law is that all the creatures in this world, whether they are great or small, have been created by Parampita Parameshwar, have been made by God, and God is the father of all the creatures. So you have not given life to any creature, so you have no right to kill them. All of them are the descendants of God, children of Parampita Parameshwar. So you should not have killed the albatross. But the ancient mariner, feeling very much eccentric, killed the albatross with his crossbow. He himself is not in a position to know, to think after all why he has killed. But he has killed. He doesn't know the reason why he has killed. But he has killed. and the killing of albatross is a crime committed by the ancient mariner, and it is natural that if you commit crime, you will have to be punished. You will have to suffer. So the poet tells that this is the horrible situation, and this is a curse for me, because I have killed the creature which has been created by God, and it is unnatural law, not natural law, and I have gone against the nature. I have violated the rule of nature. I have transgressed the rule of nature. So if crime is committed, naturally you will be punished. Punishment will be given to you. So the poet started realizing that looking towards the dead man's eye is a kind of suffering for me, is a kind of agony for me. And in this situation, he is surrounded, the ancient mariner is surrounded by the dead body of his mariner mates. And in this way, I passed 7 days and 7 nights. I went on looking that curse for 7 days and 7 nights. This situation is called life in death. This situation is called living death. And yet I could not die. In spite of that situation, critical condition, I did not die. I could not die. I was not in a position to lose my life. If you die after crime, that is a good thing. But if you don't die after your crime, that is called death in life. And if you don't die after committing crime, it is life in death. It is called living death. You are alive just to say, but you are dead. Being dead, you are alive. And this is the most critical situation for a man. Just to say you are alive, but you are dead. The moving moon went up the sky. The poet tells that the moving moon is going up in the sky, and nowhere did abide. Softly she was going up, and a star or two besides. The poet tells that the moon goes on rising high and high, is moving, goes on moving high and high in the sky, and it was followed by 1 or 2 stars. It went on rising and rising slowly and slowly, softly and softly, and this scene has been seen by the ancient mariner. Her beams bemote the sultry main, like the April hoar-frosted spread, but here the ship's huge shadow lay, the charmed water burnt away, a still and awful red. the poet discusses that the moon was cool on the one hand. On the other hand, the sea is hot as the month of April is hot, and the cool moonlight seemed to be laughing at the sea, sultry sea. The silver white moon was spread all around the sea where the ship's huge shadow lay, and the huge means big shadow of the ship are falling upon the, actually when the moon shines in the sky at night, or you may say if it is moonlit night, your shadow will fall upon the earth. Similarly, it is happening with the poet. The moon is shining in the sky, and the moon is shining in the sky, and it is a moonlit night. Everything is shining in the sky, and the moonlight is falling upon the surface of the sea. And on the sea, the ship is standing. So its huge shadow of the ship is falling upon the sea. The charred water burnt away a still and awful red, and the sea water is burning. It creates a horrible scene. It looks red. Beyond the shadow of the ship, I watched the water snakes. There are so many snakes crawling upon the water. They moved in tracks of shining white. They are moving here and there in a track of shining white. The sun is shining in the sky, and when they reared, elfish light fell off hoary flakes. The poet tells that the sun looks hot. It is shining in the sky, and the hot rays of the sun are falling upon the surface of the sea water, and they are boiling like mustard oil in the pan. The sea snakes, feeling very much restless, feeling very much suffocated, and for rest, they came out of the sea and started creeping upon the surface of the sea water. Within the shadow of the sea, I watched their rich attire. Within the shadow of the ship, the ancient mariner is sitting under the sweet shadow of the ship, and the shadow of the ship is falling upon the surface of the water of the sea, and for taking relief, these snakes have gathered under the shadow of the ship in the sea. There, I watched their rich attire. Attire means a skin. The skin of the sea snakes has been seen by the ancient mariner, and the color is blue, glossy green, velvet black. They coiled and swam. They are sitting in a coiled manner, and they are swimming, and every track was a flash of golden fire, and every track looked like a golden fire. It creates light. They are restless. The sea snakes or sea creatures are restless. They are feeling suffocation. For taking relief, they have come out of the sea, and this picture has been taken into notice by the ancient mariner. And then the ancient mariner cries, "Oh, happy living things, no tongue their beauty might declare, a spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unaware." When the ancient mariner looks the living things, living creatures, creatures like snakes swimming into the sea water, looking very beautiful, suddenly mercy comes into his heart. His heart is filled with pity, peace, pity and mercy, and he thinks that sometimes it happens that when you see a person suffering a lot, and you know that you don't know why he is being beaten by someone, but someone is beating him with sticks, with rods, with belts, and you see that a man is being beaten. But when you see the scene of beating, then you tell why he is beating so much to this person. He should not be beaten as much as he is being beaten. You have mercy for the suffering person. Similarly, when the suffering creature like sea, like snakes, creeping into the sea water, swimming into the sea water, moving to and fro, this scene has been seen by the This scene has been seen by the ancient mariner, and he feels that why they are suffering so much. They should not suffer as much as they are suffering, and unknowingly a spring of love gushed from my heart. A spring of love has been flowing, started flowing. प्रेम की धारा निकलने लगी उसके हृदय से, and I blessed them unaware, unknowingly. I blessed all the suffering creatures in the sea. Sure, my kind saint took pity on me, and at that very time, a kind saint showed pity, poured pity upon me, and I blessed them unaware. In the beginning, this is the spiritual regeneration which has occurred into the mind or into the heart of the ancient mariner. In the beginning, when he killed the albatross, that was the cruelty on the part of the ancient mariner. Here, he is very much sympathetic to the sea creatures when he sees them suffering. This is the regeneration, a spiritual regeneration which has occurred into the mind of the, and this is the new birth, a spiritual rebirth of the religious rebirth of the poet. In the beginning, he was a cruel person. Now he is a sympathetic person. His heart was filled with cruelty. Now his heart is filled with sympathy, with pity, with mercy. So here he has taken new birth. This is called, in literary terms, a spiritual regeneration. The self-same moment I could pray, and from my neck so free, the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea. Now, this is the point. The sin was committed by the ancient mariner when he killed the albatross. Now, his sin has been washed away from the ancient mariner. So here we may say the theme of the ancient mariner is also sin and redemption. You have committed sin and now you are redeemed of sin. You are washed away by the from the sin. So a string which was hung around his neck, tied to the dead body of the albatross, that string has broken and the albatross has fallen into the sea and it has sank like a lead. एक शीशे की तरह डूब गया. It has sunken into the sea like a lead. And simply you should know, now the ancient mariner has become free from the sin. He has been freed from the sin, and now he is free from the sin. His sin has been washed away from him, and he has become, because his heart is filled with mercy, pity, peace, and love. This term has been given by William Blake: mercy, pity, peace, and love. So this is called a spiritual regeneration. He has started a new life. आज यहीं रहने दो. हेलो.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, यहीं रहने दो आज.
Okay, sir.
बेल आइकन दबाया कि नहीं दबाया, वो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है गाइस. नहीं आता सो गाइस चलिए मैं आपको सिखाता हूँ कैसे करते हैं, बहुत ही आसान है। सो गाइस ये है नीचे रेड कलर का सब्सक्राइब का बटन, इसको आपने कुछ नहीं करना, आपने सिर्फ ऐसे करके अपने हैंड से ऐसे प्रेस कर देना है। रेड कलर का है वो ग्रे हो जाएगा एंड देन उसके बाद सामने ही आपका बेल आइकन है, आपने उस बेल आइकन को ऐसे करके प्रेस कर देना है और फिर आपको जो भी मेरी अगली वीडियोस हैं उसकी नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगी सबसे पहले।